Walk into any modern workplace, and you will find professionals at two opposite extremes. They are either overwhelmed by workload or entirely disconnected from it. On one end of the spectrum, we have the lost state. This happens when work lacks any real challenge, when artificial intelligence and automation absorb the daily routine, leaving an employee with little to do but scroll through screens, sit in unnecessary meetings, and wait for instructions. On the other end is burnout. This occurs when an employee is juggling too many tasks at once. Learning curves start to overlap, constant contact switching drains their focus, and they're left with absolutely no time for recovery. Standard corporate management treats both of these conditions as diseases. The default reaction tries to eradicate them completely, creating a pristine environment where nobody ever feels stressed and nobody ever feels bored. But if we look closely at organizational psychology, this traditional approach actually works against how humans acquire new skills. Expending resources to fight these states is a waste of energy. Exhaustion and stagnation are mandatory, mechanical steps in the human transition from routine work toward higher-level innovation. To understand how humans actually build productivity, we have to look at the three distinct psychological states that dictate our daily work. This spectrum maps our working capacity. At the absolute margins, we find the two red zones, the lost state on the far left and burnout on the far right. The space between them is the optimal middle ground. Psychologists refer to this yellow area as the flow state, productive tension, or the optimal challenge zone. We can give it a more practical name, the momentum zone. Inside this zone, the work is highly demanding, but manageable. You are actively learning new things and solving problems in a way that guarantees daily, measurable progress. You know you are in momentum when you end a day feeling physically tired, but still eager to pick the project back up tomorrow. It is distinct from the crushing desire to quit, and entirely different from having no idea what to do next. Continuous, sustainable growth only happens inside this specific state. But because of how human cognition works, it is impossible to stay parked in the momentum zone forever. Take a look at this timeline tracking a standard 7-week skill acquisition cycle. Let's say an employee is tasked with learning a new AI automation tool. Over the first 3 weeks, cognitive load steadily increases. The worker explores the basic software, begins connecting automation sequences, and then layers on advanced AI functions. The skills stack up. By week 4, they hit maximum cognitive overload. They are actively stressed. They have reached the burnout state. But as they push through, the required concepts finally click. During weeks 5 and 6, they automate the difficult tasks. The workload smooths out, and they glide comfortably back into the momentum zone. Then we reach the paradox of week 7. The employee has completely mastered the software. Because the system runs itself, the challenge vanishes entirely, and they drop directly into the lost state. This means hitting a law of stuff is actual proof that a worker is leveling up their capabilities, and sitting idle, feeling lost, is proof they have achieved complete mastery over a process. This movement between burnout and lost represents the mechanical engine of professional growth functioning exactly as designed. A high-performance operating system focuses on eliminating chronic burnout and chronic lost states. When we compare that slow 7-week cycle to the timelines used by highly optimized teams, we see a completely different rhythm. They solve the problem by compressing the cycle. Instead of lingering in discomfort, an optimized worker spends exactly 1 day in a lost state, identifying the next problem. They spend 5 days in intense learning and allow for only 2 days of mild productive burnout as they push their limits. Once they break through, they enjoy 5 days of total mastery, followed instantly by 2 days of active innovation. Then the cycle deliberately restarts. By tightly managing the length of the intervals rather than avoiding the peaks and valleys, a team mathematically ensures they spend 70 to 80% of their working lives safely inside the momentum zone. As artificial intelligence permanently handles the repetitive aspects of our jobs, human value is strictly tied to our capacity to analyze, improve, and create. We can't reach those goals by keeping the environment perfectly comfortable. But by mastering the pace of how we learn, struggle, and master new skills, we find the exact point where maximum productivity and mental well-being intersect.